me, babe. Can't you see that I am not afraid?
Jim Morrison, the mysterious, rebellious, and haunting voice of the Doors. His deep lyrics and magnetic stage presence made him a legend, but his troubled personality also created friction with many in the music world. To some, he was a genius poet of rock. To others, he was an arrogant, self-destructive troublemaker who pushed people away. In this video, we'll uncover the stories of famous musicians who clashed with Morrison, and how his larger-than-life persona often turned admiration into resentment. From Janis Joplin smashing a bottle over his head to Jimi Hendrix shutting him down on stage, these encounters show just how divisive Jim Morrison truly was. Welcome to Rock Fame Diaries 1. The Doors, his own bandmates. We begin with the people who knew him best. The Doors themselves. Morrison's bandmates, Ray Manzarek, John Densmore, and Robbie Krieger, were in awe of his charisma and lyrical talent, but living and working with him was often exhausting. After finishing their album L.A. Woman in 1971, Jim decided to escape to Paris with his girlfriend. The band quietly supported the move, hoping it might give him a fresh start and distance from the chaos of Los Angeles. But deep down, they were left uncertain. Would he return to tour? Would he even survive? Just months later, their worst fears came true. On July 3, 1971, Morrison was found dead in his Paris apartment. His sudden death shocked the band. Manzarek admitted he never truly believed it, since he didn't see Jim's body at the funeral. He even stirred rumors that Morrison had faked his own death. Densmore, on the other hand, was furious. He blamed Jim's reckless drinking and drug use for ending his life so early and avoided Jim's grave for 3 years. Though time softened their anger, Morrison's unpredictability had left lasting scars even on those who loved him most. His bandmates carried both admiration and frustration, two feelings that would forever define their relationship with their fallen frontman. 2. Janis Joplin. A violent fallout. One of the most famous clashes came with Janis Joplin, a fellow icon of the late 60s. At first, Joplin admired Morrison and looked forward to meeting him, but things went south quickly. At a party, Morrison drunkenly tried to flirt with Janis. She wasn't interested and politely declined. But Jim, drunk and relentless, wouldn't take no for an answer. When she tried to leave, Morrison followed her outside and yanked her out of her car by the hair. Janis didn't hesitate. She grabbed a bottle of Southern Comfort, the same drink Morrison loved, and smashed it over his head, knocking him out cold. The two never reconciled, and the story spread quickly through the rock community. For Janis, it was a statement. She wasn't going to tolerate Jim Morrison's behavior, no matter how famous he was. While Morrison may have been larger than life, Janis proved she could stand up to anyone. 3. Lou Reed. Utter contempt. While Joplin's clash was personal, Lou Reed's disdain was almost philosophical. As frontman of the Velvet Underground, Reed despised the hippie movement and West Coast bands like the Doors. To him, Morrison wasn't a deep poet, but a caricature of counterculture excess. When Morrison died in a Paris bathtub at just 27, Reed mocked the tragedy, saying, "How fabulous, a bathtub in Paris. I have no pity for that silly Los Angeles person." Harsh words, but they revealed just how little Reed respected Morrison. For Lou, Morrison represented everything shallow and self-indulgent about the 60s, far from the gritty realism Reed valued in his own music. 4. Frank Zappa. A war on drugs and excess. Frank Zappa was another artist who clashed ideologically with Morrison. Zappa was famously anti-drug, and Morrison's chaotic, intoxicated persona was everything he despised. Zappa criticized Morrison's performances as sloppy and fueled by substances, rather than true talent. He even went as far as to call the Doors' music distasteful and obnoxious. But for Zappa, the issue went beyond just music. It was about influence. He believed Morrison's behavior glamorized self-destruction and sent the wrong message to young fans. While Zappa's words were harsh, they reflected his lifelong mission, fighting against the normalization of drug culture in rock music. And to him, Jim Morrison was the poster child of everything wrong with it. 5. Jerry Garcia. A Mick Jagger copy. Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead didn't hold back when asked about Jim Morrison either. Garcia said he found the Doors' music offensive, and he considered Morrison's stage act nothing more than a poor imitation of Mick Jagger. The Grateful Dead and the Doors couldn't have been more different. The Dead embraced community, improvisation, and a sense of freedom. The Doors were darker, moodier, and more theatrical. Garcia's blunt dismissal of Morrison revealed not just personal dislike, but also a clash of musical philosophies. 6. Dennis Wilson. From friendship to a fight. Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys actually started off as friends with Morrison. The two often hung out together on the Sunset Strip, but things changed when Morrison began associating with Charles Manson. Wilson didn't like Manson's energy and wanted nothing to do with him. The growing connection between Jim and Manson created a rift, and soon after, Dennis and Morrison ended up in a fight at the Whiskey A Go-Go nightclub. Whatever bond they once had was gone. From then on, Dennis Wilson never publicly mentioned Morrison again. Their falling out was a reminder of how Morrison's chaotic lifestyle often pushed people away, even those who initially admired him. 7. Led Zeppelin. Disgusted at Seattle in 1969, the Doors shared the stage with Led Zeppelin at the Seattle Pop Festival. What should have been a historic moment turned into embarrassment for Morrison. During the Doors set, Jim insulted the audience, made obscene gestures, and taunted the crowd. Zeppelin's members, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, were unimpressed. Page admitted he liked Morrison's songwriting, but thought his stage antics were disgraceful. Plant described Morrison's performance as sickening to watch, convinced he was high. For Zeppelin, who prided themselves on power and precision, Morrison's erratic behavior was a sign of weakness, not brilliance. 8. Jimi Hendrix. I can handle it myself. Finally, one of the most infamous stories comes from Jimi Hendrix. In 1968, Morrison and Hendrix crossed paths at a jam session in New York. Hendrix had the crowd spellbound with his guitar skills, until a drunk Morrison stumbled on stage. He grabbed the microphone, shouted bizarre noises, and even clung to Hendrix's legs while he played. Janis Joplin, watching nearby, once again had to intervene, smashing yet another Southern Comfort bottle over Morrison's head. The chaos didn't end there. A month later in Montreal, Morrison asked if he could join Hendrix on stage. Hendrix politely declined. "That's okay, fella, I can handle it myself." Morrison angrily responded, "Do you know who I am? I'm Jim Morrison of the Doors." Hendrix coolly replied, "Yeah, I know who you are. And I'm Jimi Hendrix." That was their last interaction, and it spoke volumes. Hendrix's calm professionalism clashed with Morrison's drunken desperation, leaving no room for friendship. From his bandmates to rock icons like Janis Joplin, Lou Reed, Frank Zappa, Jerry Garcia, Dennis Wilson, Led Zeppelin, and Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison left a trail of strained relationships. Some clashed with him on a personal level, others on artistic or philosophical grounds. But together, their stories paint a clear picture. Jim Morrison was both captivating and polarizing, a man who inspired and infuriated in equal measure. His legacy, however, remains untouchable. Morrison is remembered not for the bridges he burned, but for the music he left behind. Even his fiercest critics couldn't erase his influence on rock history. So what do you think? Was Jim Morrison a misunderstood genius, or simply a reckless troublemaker? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Rock Fame Diaries for more untold rock stories like this one. God bless.